Good afternoon, students.
గుడ్ ఆఫ్టర్నూన్ సార్.
సాయిలు మీరు వినిపిస్తుందా వాయిస్?
వినబడుతుంది సార్.
రైట్, మీరు ఇప్పుడు మ్యూట్ చేసుకోండి. ఓకే, సో రైట్, యాజ్ ఏ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ the third paper, tribal and peasant movements, we covered certain things up to the chapter 3, and we have a certain introduction over the tribal movements also, and we covered a lot of things regarding the peasant movements. Peasant movements within the territories of India from the Battle of Plassey, and we also discussed about the causes or the factors which behind these peasant movements, and various peasant movements which arise in the Indian territories during the British colonial period and after Indian independence. Okay, so we divided into the three parts up to 1757 to 1857 and 1857 to 1905, like that, and then 1905 to 1947. Okay, so within these three phases, we discuss the lot of these peasant struggles which started in Indian territory, and the another main thing you have to complete is the tribal revolts. Okay, so within the tribal revolts, we'll see certain things, and we'll see the various tribal revolts which happened in Indian territories. Okay, so I will start the and basic things regarding the tribal movements, and next I will give you certain details about the various revolts which taken place in Indian territories. Okay, so after the Battle of Plassey in 1757, the political control of the East India Company increased, and by the end of the 18th century, the British emerged as the main power in India, and political sphere, it became imperative to introduce and implement policies in the field of land revenue, law and order, and set up an administration. Okay, so implementation of such policies created turmoil in the Indian society and led to changes. And moreover, companies' main aim was to utilize the resources of India for the development of India. And these changes led to the dislocation in the socio-cultural, economic and political life of the people. And the subsequent turmoil led to outbreak of rebellion in different parts of the country, and the rebellions were not confined to the later period of the British Empire, but were a constant feature of it from its very beginning, and culminating into the revolt of 1857 and the erosion of traditional forms of authority and increased economic pressure were the two basic reasons for these uprisings. And the revolt of 1857 was the most dramatic instance of traditional India struggle against the foreign rule, and but it was no sudden occurrence. It was the culmination of a century-long traditions of the popular resistance to the British domination. And the establishment of British power in India was a prolonged process of conquest and consolidation and the colonization of the economy and the society. Okay, so this process which produced the discontent, resentment, and resistance at every stage. Okay, so we'll see certain social base of these tribal rebellions. And before going to social base of these tribal rebellions, and I have to share my screen before that. Um, just wait, Sahil. I will share my screen.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Uh, Sailu, are you getting my screen?
Okay, sir. Awesome, sir.
వస్తుందా ఫుల్ స్క్రీన్ వస్తుందా?
Full clear చేస్తాను.
నీకు ఫుల్ స్క్రీన్ కనిపిస్తుంది కదా?
కనిపిస్తుంది, సార్.
ఓకే. సాయిలు ఓకే కదా? కనిపిస్తుందా?
ఓకే, సార్. ఓకే, సార్. కనబడుతుంది.
Yeah, right. Uh, right. So, the anti-colonial tribal movements in India, because in the initial phase of these tribal movements, these are only anti-colonial cause, which is the base for that. And apart from that, there are several other causes also there. When you see the social base of these rebellions, tribal rebellions, at a time when the new created class of urban intelligentsia was reaping the benefits of the British rule. It were the traditional section of the society whose lives had been almost completely changed for the worse, who rebelled. Okay, so the series of civil rebellions, often led by deposed rulers or their descendants, uprooted and impoverished jamindars, landlords, and polygars, uh, and ex-retainers and officials of the conquered the Indian states. The backbone of the rebellions, their mass base and striking power, came from the rack rented peasants, ruined artisans, and demoralized the soldiers. Okay, so the political religious movements like the Fakir uprising and Sannyasi uprising were led by the religious mendicants whose religious practice couldn't be understood by the British. When you see certain causes of the rebellion, and the major cause of all these civil rebellions taken as a whole was the rapid changes in the British introduced in the economy, administration, and land revenue system. And these changes led to disruption of the agrarian society, causing prolonged and widespread suffering among its constituents. And the colonial policy of intensifying demands for the land revenue and extracting as large an amount as possible produced a upheaval in Indian villages. In Bengal, when I say the example, in the less than 30 years of the land revenue collection were raised to nearly double the amount collected under the Mughals. Okay, so the pattern was repeated in the other parts of the country as a British rule was spread. And aggravating the unhappiness of farmers was the fact that not even a part of uh, the enhanced revenue was spent on the development of agriculture for the welfare of the cultivator. And the thousands of jamindars and polygars lost control over their land and its revenue either due to the extension of their rights by the colonial state or by the forced sale of their rights over the land because of their inability to meet the exorbitant land revenue demanded. And the proud Jamindars and polygars resented this loss even more when they were displaced by rank outsiders, government officials, and new men of money merchants and money lenders. And thus, they also, the old chiefs who had lost their principalities, had personal scores to settle with the new rulers. Okay, so the peasants and artisans, as indicated earlier, had their own reasons to raise up in arms and side with the traditional elite, increasing demands for the land revenue, were forcing large number of peasants into growing indebtedness, indebtedness or into selling their lands. And the new landlords benefit of any traditional paternalism towards their tenants, pushed up for rents to ruinous heights and evicted them in case of non-payment. And the economic decline of the peasantry was reflected in 12 major and numerous minor famines from 1770 to the 1857. And the new courts and legal system gave a further fill up to deposers of land and encourage the rich to oppress the poor. Okay, so flogging, torture, and jailing of cultivators for areas of rent or land revenue or interest on debt were quite common. The ordinary people were also hard hit by the prevalence of corruption at the lower levels of the police, judiciary, and general administration. And the petty officials enriched themselves freely at the cost of the poor. And the police looted, oppressed, and tortured the common people at will. Okay. So, and the ruins of Indian handicrafts industries as a result of the imposition of the free trade in India and levy of discriminatory tariffs against the Indian goods in Britain and pauperized millions of the artisans. And the misery of the artisans was further compounded by the disappearance of the traditional patterns and buyers, the princes, chieftains, and the zemindars. And the next one is the scholarly and priestly were also active in inciting hatred and rebellion against the foreign rule. And the traditional rulers and the ruling elite had financially supported scholars, religious preachers, priests, pandits, and Maulavis, and men of arts and literature like that. Okay. So when we see these, the classification of the popular uprisings or the popular revolts over the Indian territories, and we can divide into one or two categories. One is the political and religious movements is one, and the movements by deposed rulers and jamindars is one category, and another one is the movements by dependents of the deposed rulers was another category. Okay, so like this, the political religious movements, we'll see certain tribal uprisings like the Fakir uprising, Sannyasi uprising, Pagalpanthis, Wahhabi, and Faraizi, and Poka, Moklab rebellions like that. And the movement by deposed rulers was rulers and Jamindars or like Velutambi and Poligar rebellions which taken place in the southern part. Okay, so and the movements by the dependents of the deposed rulers like the Ramosi uprising, Gadkari revolt, and Savantwadi revolt like that. Okay, so all these were, you may see, having certain the political religious cause. When you see such the movements only had the tribal causes. The non-frontier tribal movements, these also we divide into the three phases. One is the first phase in between 1795 or the 1757 to 1860, like that, 1857. And the second phase is 1857 to 1920. And next one is 1920 to 1947. Okay, we can easily divide into these three phases. Okay, so 1757 to 1857 and 1857 to 1920 and 1920 to 1947. Okay, so in the first phase, we can see the two or more important rebellions like Santal rebellion and Pond rebellion. And in the second phase, you also find many rebellions like the Munda uprising and Poya revolt which taken place in the Andhra region. And in the third phase, you may see in between 1920 and 1947, Rampa rebellion and Chenchu tribal movements in India in the southern part. Okay, so when you see the frontier tribal movements, Kasi uprising and Rani, Gainlu, Naga movement, like that, you will see such movements. Okay, so when is first of all, you will see the politico-religious related movements first of all, and then we'll move to the other non-frontier and frontier tribal movements later. Okay, so first of all, we'll see the political religious movements. And these movements, which is erupted in the early phase of colonial expansion, in this phase, the religion provided the framework to locate and understand the colonial rule and articulate the resistance. And the main politico-religious movements were the Fakir uprising, Sannyasi rebellion, Pagalpanthis, Wahhabi movement, and Faraizi movement, and Kuka movement, and Mopla rebellion, like that. Okay, so first of all, we'll start with the Fakir movement, which better to be started in the year in and around the years of 1776 and 77. Okay, so when you see such movements, basically, which is okay. So are you getting my screen, Sailu?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. On the screen, you can clearly observe the certain causes for the tribal movements, the activities of Christian missionaries in the tribal areas, attempts to the monopolize forest, thus curbing the grazing facilities and the use of timber, and law which were regarded as intrusions into the personal lives of tribal people, because the tribals were living in very isolated areas, far away from the main societies. Even though due to the modernization of communication, modernization of transport, and these governments were touching the isolated areas which only specialized to the tribal people. Okay, so during the places of these tribal areas, certain railway lines or road lines are crossing through it, and due to loss of their lands, and due to loss of their dwellings, due to loss of their culture, the tribal people in many places were fight against the policies of the British. And there are other causes also there. One is the restrictions on the shifting cultivation in the forest. Okay, so due to implementation of various reserved forest acts, due to the forest acts, these tribals were lost their livelihood, because their main source was the forest, and they were dependent on the forest, on the certain forest products to sell and gain certain livelihood. And due to these restrictions on this, due to this Reserve Forest Act, even though they are restricted from the shifting cultivation also. Okay, so shifting cultivation is their birthright. Okay, so the shifting cultivation also, which is had certain restrictions, and due to that restrictions, these tribal people in many places, and number of tribals were against the policies of the colonial rule. Okay, so and apart from that, certain religious, socio-religious things you'll find differently in the lives of these tribals. Okay, so within that, whenever due to the Sanskritization and due to the modernization, and the culture was diluting gradually, and gradually. Apart from their own culture, they were following certain the traditions and rituals of the plain people, and also the things of as a part of the modernization and Sanskritization, they gradually lost their cultural traits or like that. Okay, so due to these religious and political aspects, these many tribal groups were fight against these policies of this colonial government. Okay, so among them, the Fakir and Sannyasi rebellion and Santal rebellions were among them. Okay, so first of all, I will give you about this uh, uh, the Fakir and Sannyasi rebellion first of all, and the Fakirs were a group of wandering Muslim religious mendicants, and shortly after the annexation of Bengal in 1776-77, Majnun Shah, the leader of the Fakirs, began to levy contributions on the Jamindars and peasants and defied the British authority. And after the Majnun Shah's death, Chirag Ali Shah supported the Pathans, Rajputs, and disbanded Indian soldiers, extended the operation to the northern districts of Bengal. Okay, so two famous Hindu leaders who supported him were Bhavani Pathak and Devi Chowdhury. And the Fakir, led by Chirag Ali Shah, gained considerable strength and attacked the English factories, seized their goods, cash, arms, and ammunitions. And there were a number of skirmishes between the Fakirs and the company's troops, and the Fakirs were finally brought under the control at the beginning of the 19th century. Okay, so you are also getting the things on my screen that these Fakir and Sannyasi rebellion, where it have taken place, are like that. Okay, so first of all, yeah, after the Fakir rebellion, which taking place in around 1776 and 77, and then is the Sannyasi uprising, one is which happened to be taken place in between 1770 and 82, sorry, 1820, like that. And the Hindu, Naga, and Giri armed sannyasis once formed a part of the armies of Nawabs of Awadh and Bengal, and also of the Maratha and Rajput chiefs. And the immediate cause of the rebellion was the restrictions imposed on the pilgrims visiting the holy places. And the sannyasis raided the English factories and collected contributions from the towns, leading to a series of conflicts between the large bands of sannyasis and British forces. After nearly half a century long strife, the sannyasi uprising ended in the second quarter of 19th century. Okay, so these sannyasis were the sadhus of the Dasnami sect, which originated in the 19th century, in the 16th, in the 9th century onwards. And in the 6th century, a section of the Dasnamis was organized by Madhusudan, and in around for this Murshidabad, like that. These and Murshidabad and Baitikumpur forest for Jabal Khugri, various these sannyasis collectively attacked the factories of these English, and they strongly condemned the policies of this colonial rule. Okay, so and within the Fakir movement, there is the Fakirs were also connected to the rebellions which belong to the Madariya group of Sufi Silsila, and this group finds its origin from Sayyid Bayuddin Qutbul Madar. Okay, so when you see, and 100 of years, the Fakirs and Sannyasis used to travel the North Bengal to visit various shrines and pilgrim sites. And the Bengal famine of 1770 led to drop in the production, and many zamindars could not pay the taxes. Okay, so numerous restrictions were placed on the sannyasis and fakirs, also because the British considered them as a looters and thugs. Okay, due to that, the main reason, due to these reasons, these fakirs and sannyasis revolt against the policies of the British. And the peasants displaced landlords, and these sadhus, fakirs, came together in a rebellion, which started in later part of 18th century and continued after that also. In 1771, 150 fakirs were killed for no proper reason, and this triggered rebellion which reached its climax in late 1770s. Okay, so the fakirs and sannyasis came together in number close to 50,000 to defeat the common enemy, British. Okay, so from apart from the sannyasis and fakirs, the revolt saw active participation of displaced zamindars, peasants, and artisans, and disbanded armies of Nawabs. And the ex-army people provided leadership, peasants provided social base also. And for fakirs, Mazlum Shah was the main leader, and Musa Shah took the leadership and continued rebel for some time. And later, Siraj Shah led the fakirs, launched attack on the British establishments like that. Okay, so the revolt also led by two women leaders. One is the Bhavani Pathak and Devi Chaudharani. Okay, so within the this sannyasi revolt, you find Bhavani Pathak and Devi Chaudharani, two important main women leaders who fight against these tribal revolts. Okay, so which is comes under the tribal, not tribal. It is which is also a tribal come the peasant revolt. Okay, because the main cause of these were the only about the land. Okay, so because where you see certain agrarian causes behind this revolt. Okay, so where the landlords lost their lands also due to this movement from the fakirs and sannyasis. Okay, so after that, there are other movements also. You'll see like this Chuarko movement. One is another important tribal movement in the Midnapur, particularly in the Bengal, like that. And apart from these, there are many other revolts also. You'll see like many movements like the Pond and early Munda uprisings and Santal rebellion. Okay, so and apart from these bills and police movements also you'll see. Okay, so and not even you see such Kasi and Ahom revolt and Singh Post rebellion. All these things you see in this tribal revolts. And after that, the Choar and Ho, also another important tribal revolt you will find within it. And due to the aboriginal tribesmen in the Midnapur, this revolt has taken place. Okay, so these are for this revolt. There are certain other causes also. One is there is a great famine taking place in the Bengal. Due to the famine, there is the food crisis has taken place, and these revolts, these tribal people which are away, which are not getting the proper food material to live. And there are another cause you will see enhancement of this land revenue and economic which is business has taken place also another important cause. Okay, so and due to these causes, the Rajas of Galgum and Kailapal, Dholka, and Barabum organized a revolt in 1768 and followed scorched earth policy and continued till the end of the century. And the Ho and Munda tribesmen of Chota Nagpur and Singaboom again challenged the company forces in 1830, 33 again in sorry in 1820, 22, and 1931 like that. Okay, so and after that you'll see the bills reward. Okay, so after before going to these bills or these other rewards, I will give you certain things regarding the Pagalpanthis and Pagalpanthis and Wahhabi movement, and then I will move to other rewards. Okay. So, and I will show you about certain rewards first of all, and Pagalpanthi. Okay, so I will give you later about this Pagalpanthi, and I will give you about the Bills revolt. Then I'll move to others. Okay, so first of all, I'll give you about the Kond uprising, where Konds were traditionally hunter-gatherers and who are living away from the isolated society. And these Konds lived in the vast hill tracts, which is stretching from the Tamil Nadu to Bengal, covering central provinces and in the virtual independence due to the inaccessible mountainous terrain, and their uprisings from 1837 to 1856 were directed against the British, and in which the tribals of Gumsa and Kalahandi and Patna actively participated. And the movement was led by Chakra Bisoi in the name of the young Raja. And the main issue was the attempt by the government to suppress human sacrifice. Okay, so human sacrifice in the sense the Maria, which is a human sacrifice, which they followed since times, ancient times on course. Okay, so introduction of the new taxes by the British and the influx of the Jamindars and the Shahukars, moneylenders, into their areas, which were causing the central, which was causing the tribals untold misery. Okay, so and a Maria agency against which the Konds fought with the Tangi, a king of the battle axe, bows, arrows, and even swords. Later, the Savaras and some local militia clans also joined in and led by Radhakrishna Dandasena, and Chakra Bisoi disappeared in 1855, after which the movement which is disappeared. Okay, so where basically the Konds, which among the Konds, like the Gumsa, Chenaki Medi, Kalahandi, Patna, which were actively participated in it. And the main cause was the attempt by the government to suppress human sacrifice. Okay, so human sacrifice is one of the ritual followed by this Munda tribe, and you are well known that during the time of William Bittick, I think this Human Sacrifice Prohibition Act was issued. Okay, so due to the interference of this colonial rule in their culture, in their territories. These mundas were, these pawns were which revolt against the British. Okay. So at the same time, when the colonial officials and the colonial government, which gradually penetrated into the cultures and customs of these pawns tribe. At the same time, on the other side, certain merchant class like the Shaukaris and Jamindars and landlords who are occupying their lands. Okay. So, and another side is government which is suppressing these pawns by following certain acts reserve forest tax are like that, and they are prohibiting these phones to enter in such forest areas are like that. Okay, so one side these landlords and shahukars which are occupying the lands, and sometimes they are providing certain amount as a investment to grow their crops at a high rate of interest. Whenever they were unable to repay the amount, are unable to repay the loan to the Saukar or any Jamindar or money lender, landlord, those lands of these phones were grabbed by these Shaukars and merchants. Okay, so that is main reason. One reason is the government policy, colonial policy, and next one is the interference of these landlords and merchant class in the lives of ports. Okay, so these within the ports you find that one a important leader who led the movement was Chakra Bose Bissoy. And after these phones were having the support from the other tribes, particularly from the Savaras. Okay, so Savaras were the another important tribe which lived in the north eastern part of the Andhra, and also the in the districts of Ganjam, Orissa. Okay, so these Savaras supported these codes, and they combinedly fought against the policies of British, and they strongly condemned the policies of colonial rule. Okay, so this is another important revolt we'll see as a tribal nature. Okay, so apart from that, there are other revolts we can see. Where is the early Munda revolts? Okay, so in the period of 1789 and 1832, the Munda rose up for rebellion 7 times against the landlords, the Coos, moneylenders, and the British, who instead of protecting them sided. And the tribal chiefs rose up against the erosion of Kuntakatti system or giant tree holding by the tribal lineage. Okay, so from this early Munda rebellion, the one and only important leader from it was the Birsa Munda. Okay, so which they treated as a god from this their rebellion. Okay, so god from the tribe. Okay, so in the period between 1789 and 1832, the Munda rose up in rebellion 7 times against the landlords, the Coos, moneylenders, and the British, who instead protecting them sided with the oppressors. In the post 1857 period, with a hope of better future, many Mundas turned to the evangelical Lutheran mission, which was overseeing mission work in the Chota Nagpur. However, many apostates became more militant and broke away, spearheading of the cause for seeking redressal of their grievances. Once they realized that the missionaries could not provide the solution to them, their movement identified as the missionary could not provide the solution to them. Their movement identified as the Sardari Laldai, the war of the leaders, was fought with the aim of expelling the Kus and restoration of the Munda domination over their homeland. And the tribal chiefs rose up against the erosion of Kuntakatti system or giant ventures also. Okay, so while it failed, it did not peter out, but remained dormant and in need of a charismatic leader. And it was given a new life by Birsa Munda in 1899. Okay, so and in and around 1900, and this movement also very active. And in the period of 1789-32, it's better to be called as the formative period. And the Mundas were rose up in the rebellion, which is 7 times against the landlords, the Kus also. Okay, so when you see about the Birsa Munda received some education from the missionaries, and he called upon the Mundas to fight against the superstition also. According to his according to his words, give up animal sacrifice and stop taking intoxicants also. Okay, so they have you are aware that many tribal people had the habit of taking this liquor and such liquor made with various the forest based the forest products. Okay, so due to the teachings of these Birsa Munda, these tribals of the Mundas were give up their animal sacrifice, also certain traditions which within their tribe, and stop taking of such intoxicants or smoke or like that. Okay, so to wear the sacred thread and retain the tribal tradition of worship in the Sarna or the sacred book. Okay, so due to the Sanskritization, these people were following such a Hindu styles, basically wearing the sacred thread and treating Birsa Munda as a god among them. Okay, so and finally, due to the teachings of Birsa Munda, all the tribes, basically the majority of the tribes who participated in the Munda uprising, was arrested along with Birsa Munda on 3rd March 1900. Okay, so with the mobilization of this Birsa Munda, many women also participated in the movement. Okay, so Birsa Munda, which received some of the education. Okay, so and where the these missionaries also mobilized these tribes of the Munda against the oppression policies of the various personalities like the merchants, landlords, zemindars, and even with the government also. Okay, so and even though they inspired with the missionaries, and they are on the other side they also inspired with the Vaishnavite influence also. Okay, so Birsa Munda treated as their god, and according to the Chota Nagpur Tenancy Act of 1908, with giant reorganization to giant farming rights and ban on begari or forced labor has taken place. Okay, so due to this Munda's uprising, this Chota Nagpur Tenancy Act of 1908 was passed, Okay, so such things which you'll see from these various tribal movements, and this is end of my class today, and I will give you other tribal revolts which taken place along after this Munda. You see many tribal revolts like Bill's Pole and such other Pagalpanthis. Pagalpanthi is also one of the important tribal revolt, and another one is Santal rebellion. Santal rebellion is one of the important rebellion which taken place in the central India, and which is also comes under the tribal and peasant movements also. Okay, so apart from that, there are other important rebellions to be tribal rebellions to be discussed. Okay, so among them there are many movements also there. Savara and Oran, Koya, Kol, Bone, Bill. Okay, so all other revolts are so another important revolts, and another one is the Gatkari revolt, which is comes under the peasants and tribal, and next one is the Savantwadi revolt, which is one of the important revolt to be discussed, which taken place in the Savantwadi region of the Ratnagiri district of Maharashtra. Okay, so which led by Pond Savant, and Ramosi uprising, also another important revolt which taking place in the regions of the Maratha region. Okay, so and all those had this tribal and peasant nature, and we see those all those things in the next classes. Okay, so still we have another four to five classes to go, and within these 4 to 5 classes we complete all the tribal revolts which are in our syllabus. Okay, so students, this is end of my class today, and regarding uh, my class or my lecture today, if you have any doubts or any queries regarding, you are welcome to ask. ఏమైనా డౌట్స్ ఉన్నాయా?
Yes, sir.
చెప్పండి, ఏం డౌట్స్ ఉన్నాయి? ఏమైనా డౌట్స్ ఉంటే మీరు అడగవచ్చు.
No, sir.
జస్ట్ ఏ సెకండ్, ఇప్పుడు మీటింగ్ నుంచి ఎవరు బయటికి వెళ్ళకండి, ఒకసారి అటెండెన్స్ ఒకటి రికార్డ్ చేసేది ఉన్నది. ఓకే స్టూడెంట్స్,
Sir.
మీటింగ్ నుంచి మీరు ఎవరు అంటే ఇప్పుడు లెఫ్ట్ కాకండి, ఒక 2 minutes
Okay,
వెయిట్
sir.
చేయండి. మీ అటెండెన్స్ ఒకటి రికార్డ్ చేసుకుంటాను, ఒక నిమిషం. Just a second, please.